Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Lee, welcome. You're coming in hot.
Well, isn't that what every realtor does? You fly with the seat of your pants on fire from one place to the other. Carrie, you do the same thing, but you just make it look prettier with your little photo shoots and stuff.
I try. I'm trying to keep up, Lee. I'm trying to keep up. So, how's it going, Gary and Lee?
I was having to turn off my Clubhouse, Carrie, because that's what I used to caulk in my days. I listened to ideas, and then I said, I got to turn it off because we got to talk about Clubhouse.
And I'll tell you, I'm the same way. I think I got addicted back in December of 2020. Clubhouse, first of all, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Carrie Little. I'm from Illinois in a city called West Chicago, Illinois, about an hour west of Chicago, nowhere near Chicago. I can get to Iowa a whole lot faster. And back in December, one of my agents said, Sheena Baker said, Carrie, you need to get on Clubhouse. And I was like, nope, not one more thing. How about you, Lee?
I was sent the invitation a month before I accepted it for the same reason. I'm like, I don't have time to fool with this. But of course, I got my invitation in November, logged in December while I was at the beach for my quiet time at the end of the year. And then I just sat there completely sucked in for a couple of weeks before I learned how to control it. I mean, it's wild. And then Gary got in not long after that because he's proof that if you are older, you can do Clubhouse too.
Wait a minute, let's drop the mic for you. Let's drop the mic for you. And here I was going to say you're the top gun of people sliding into a session from the plane, the expertise. But yeah, even us old folks. So
horrified right now, she's not even laughing, Gary. Look, our staff is not laughing right now.
Even us old folks have found a format that is very versatile, I think.
Yeah, Gary, don't feel, first of all, I think we're all over the age of 50.
Oh, yes. Well, speaking for myself, I didn't mean that.
Yes, so truly, everyone can do this.
I'm knocking on another door anytime now that might be a tad higher, so.
And you're right, though, everybody can do this. And frankly, friends, that's why you're here today. We're going to give you a whole bunch of ins and outs of Clubhouse, what we've learned along the way, so that you can make it a really enjoyable experience, whether you are a native of the social media digital world or you are a late entrant to the social media world. Because as Gary already alluded to, this one's even easier than you realize because it doesn't involve all this video, which is a real blessing on the days that you don't feel like it.
Yep, and I love what we're going to do today because we're covering pretty much every kind of end user, right? We're covering the people that really do a good job and put on good shows that have good content. That love teaching and love speaking and love moderating. And then, for me, I don't have a show, but I attend a lot of shows. So I'm kind of an end user and I'm probably that 90% audience that wants to find something interesting and productive. So I think this is going to be a good discussion.
Yeah, I agree, Gary. When I first logged into Clubhouse, and I'm the person that the shiny new object, okay, fine, here I come. I just tried it and it seemed to work for me. So, I do like to jump in and I do like to listen and I like to learn because you have an opportunity to learn from people all over the United States and all over the world. So I don't just have to be the person that's trying to figure this stuff out. I can go learn. And the cool thing about Clubhouse is that the founders actually do try to teach you something every Sunday. And then they actually have a new user group every single Wednesday. So yeah, Lee, so tell us about Clubhouse. How would you say you got started and what would some of those tips be for the new user or even the savvy user in Clubhouse?
There is a newsletter that I subscribe to and I bet that you subscribe to it too. And I'll remember the name of it. It just left my brain. I swear to goodness. Anyway, there's a social, right? It just blew through my brain. There's a lot of social media that I'm trying to learn from other people. In real estate, we have this siloed problem we get into a lot where you want to learn about things from a real estate perspective, but you can get so much more by going outside our profession and getting input from experts in all these platforms. So I go learn from other people. I saw Clubhouse mentioned in their newsletter. So I signed up for the wait list. And if you don't know, Clubhouse is still in its beta form. It's still evolving. They're adding features all the time. So you want to go to the app. I had to look it up, right? Because I'd never heard of this app. And it's always got a little grayed out person's face. I don't think it's going to work with my thing being on blur. There it is. It's a lady's head right now. It's been like 2 different people, changes all the time. So I went and logged in, signed up for an account, picked out my username, which is @Lee_Brown, which is how I knew how early it was in the platform's days that I could get my actual name. And then I got on the wait list and I went to Twitter and I said, if anybody can let me in, let me in. And this was in the fall. It was late November before one of my realtor mastermind groups had some people that were getting into the platform, where I finally got an invitation to get in. So I went to learn about it because, like everybody else, I've been starved for interaction during the COVID era. Even though I do get to work with some clients and I've had my family around, I'm a conference junkie, I'm an education junkie, I'm a class junkie, and I have missed the interaction dramatically. So when you guys are on a Zoom with us, like we can see some of your faces, those of y'all that have your cameras on, we give you gold stars. But in realtor world, a lot of realtors have started turning their cameras off. And as a presenter, I hate it when you turn your camera off. Like I hate it so much because I don't get any energy back. And video world tends to be one-sided. Well, Clubhouse is two-way street. You can hear a conversation, you can be involved in a conversation. And I think that's where I just got completely pulled in so quickly, because it was refilling my energy. And like Gary and Carrie have said, you can go into a room and you listen and get ideas, but more than that, it was just hearing voices again that weren't just on Zoom, was where I landed in the space. And as somebody who does love realtor education, I always wanted to get better. I want to also, from a leadership perspective, and if we haven't met, I am your current vice president of advocacy for the National Association of Realtors. I've met a lot of realtors that get really frustrated because they don't know their volunteer leadership. They don't know what it means or what's going on. They feel out of the loop. I said, man, this is another way I can talk to realtors and let them know what's happening at the national level, help them figure out what their benefits are and what's good. So I looked at it for 2 perspectives. I can go to a place where I can get ideas for my brokerage business, but also I can give back from a volunteer leadership standpoint. So it's lots of different ways you can approach the platform.
And so while we're having this conversation, because Gary, you did say you use Clubhouse a little bit differently, everyone that's here today, camera ready or not camera ready, because I think you should get up, get dressed, and turn your camera on, because it does make things a whole lot better and it's easier for us to collaborate, and it actually pushes you up and we can see you and we're more likely to engage with you. I want to ask this question. How many of you are on Clubhouse? How many, and does someone need an invite? Like, do any of you need an actual invite? Like, you can follow us on Clubhouse today, but do you need access to Clubhouse? So what I'm going to do for you today, while you're telling us, is I'm going to give you a link where you can actually skip the line, whether you're on Droid or you're on an iPhone. I just gave everyone, I have 1,000 invites. You can join.
So instead of writing need invite in the chat, scroll right back up. You see Carrie Little said, skip the line, click on that link. That is so important. And by the way, Tanya, the question you had, or Tania, I don't know which one it is, so forgive me if I'm wrong. That's not our Twitter handles, that's our Clubhouse handles. Your Clubhouse name looks very similar to what you would use for Instagram or Twitter. It's the @ plus your username. So that's your handle for Clubhouse. So remember, go all the way back up to Carrie Little wrote, skip the line. And then thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie has put it in there again. This is huge, y'all, because it's one of the frustrations for a lot of people that want to test it out. They don't know how to get in. And once you are in the platform, by the way, you're going to get an invitation to give to somebody else. The more active you are, the more invitations you'll get. How did Carrie get a link? Carrie created a room, and she did that because she's an active user. And we'll talk about the different ways that you can engage in the platform. But for now, download the app and go in there and get that space right quick, because that link's right there.
While we're on that, Carrie, how about some suggestions when they do get in, how to set up and profiles and putting their accounts together?
So let me say this. Well, if you're an iPhone user, you know, technology is updated with iOS first. So for those of you that have a Droid phone, I am a Droid phone user with an iPhone. So I get it. I made the switch when they made me send that that note back in, that 4. So I made the switch. When you log in, whether you're on Droid or you're on an iPhone, when you create your account in Clubhouse, the first thing we need you to do is add a photo of you, not your logo, a photo of you. You are more likely to get engagement if it's a photo of you. The other thing we need you to do is, I don't care if you write 2 sentences or 3. I don't care if you copy, cut, and paste your bio. You need to say something and then add your Instagram and your Twitter. If you are a Droid user, I am pretty sure you can add Twitter. You might not get Instagram right away. They know, Clubhouse knows there's a glitch. At least put, so in Clubhouse fashion, Twitter and Instagram is at the bottom of your Clubhouse bio. My recommendation for all of you, I happen to be an identical twin. And my twin sister created her bio in Clubhouse, and then one day she clicked and it disappeared. So I'm going to recommend that you use Notes or Evernote to create your bio, copy, cut, and paste, because in the event that you do goof, you can always go back and get it. So create your bio, and Lee and Gary, I'm sure you know, like the first 2 sentences make a difference. And there's usually a debate. I've had people say, Carrie, you need this long, huge bio. But then when I look at some people that have huge followings, they have 2 great statements on Clubhouse that tell us who they are. And when you come to Clubhouse, the first thing we do is we look at your bio, and we can talk about how the platform works, but we want to see who you are so we can make sure you're not a bot and that you're not going to hijack our event. So photo, bio, Instagram, and Twitter. You can add LinkedIn, but there isn't a direct link. So,
and for
yeah,
those of y'all that want to know why you need Twitter and Instagram, maybe you don't like Twitter and Instagram, you have to have it because Clubhouse does not have messaging. There's no way to interact outside of a room except for Twitter and Instagram. So what you'll find is that by you connecting those accounts, when you meet somebody in a room and you really enjoy interacting, you're learning from them, or they will say, hit me in my DMs, you have to go to those other platforms in order to engage person by person. So it's really important. And to what Carrie was saying, it's not just about your bio on Clubhouse, right? When I go to your Clubhouse, from Clubhouse to your Instagram bio, if that's not filled out, I'm just going to assume that you're not serious about anything. So why should I spend time with you? I'm looking to see how complete your profile is. And thank you, DM is direct message. To the point Carrie's making about your bio, one of the cool things about Clubhouse, let's see, how do I make that where it doesn't do this?
you got to get rid of that
virtual
background.
So when you click on your face, it's at any time, it's up in the upper right-hand corner. You can edit your bio on the fly, so you can change it anytime. One of the important things to have in your bio are emoji, and that sounds weird. And if you are an older type individual who doesn't live in emoji world, you should know that that's one of the ways we can search. So if you have a little house emoji in your bio, we can search for house people. You'll find investors, you'll find lenders, you'll find realtors. You might want to have the little red map pin by your city. That's how we search by people in geographical areas. So it's really important to, frankly, look at Carrie's bio, look at mine, go copy it, right? So take our information and create your own version of it as you tweak it and make it your own. One thing though, leave your cell phone number out of your bio because there are so many scammers and bots in Clubhouse. You are wise to put a Google Voice number in there or something that's not your real cell phone number.
Which,
yeah,
if
Go ahead,
anybody's
Gary.
looking at mine, I break the rule. So far so good. If it becomes a problem, I'm going to yank it. But so far it's been more helpful. I don't have my IG account on there for a lot of reasons, but I probably will have to. But I'm probably the antithesis because I don't really have a lot of people reaching out to me. But when I do, it's for intent. They're reaching out to me for a specific reason. So, but yeah, and the bio says it all, depending on why you're in there. But the credibility piece, if you're going to moderate a room or you're going to speak in a room and people say, oh, that's pretty good. And then you click on the bio and it's empty. You just lost that potential relationship. That you just became more forgettable. That 3 seconds of wow, I want to get to know this person is over right then and there.
Yeah, so true. We are less likely to bring you up, and there is always someone that ends up in my room and it's advertisement. and they always ping, and because you can add request to come up on stage. And when we talk about, when I talk about Clubhouse, I call it the moderator section, the speaker section, the VIP section, and the nosebleed section. We are more likely to bring you up on stage when you do have content. Now, there are times if I have invited someone to Clubhouse and you have no content, but I know who you are, we'll bring you up on stage because we already have a relationship.
So since Carrie's now the one talking in lingo, all right, guys, once you're in the app, you're going to see this is your hallway. It's all the rooms that are happening right now based on who you're following. Stephanie put somebody put our handles over here because you'll want to follow people that are worth following, frankly. But let me show you a secret about following people. When you when you select someone to follow, I'll say Lori Vandalak, she just followed me. So Lori's probably in our webinar right now. So Lori is a full-time Pacific Northwest real estate broker. She threw some emoji in there. Nicely done, sister. She did this in the last 30 seconds while we're talking. Just add your city beside the red geo pin. She's got her Twitter. She's got her Instagram. When I click on the follow button beside Lori's head, there we go. When you click on the follow button, you get this bell. You click on the bell and you get options. Clubhouse will automatically tell you sometimes when she's speaking. You can also click always. So if you love Lori, you can follow everything she does. She's talking and you will be alerted. If Lori makes you want to poke your eye out with a dull fork and she makes you crazy, you can click never ever, and then Clubhouse will say nothing to you when Lori is speaking. Now, we're not going to say that because we think she's amazing and she's a fast learner here. But that's one of the ways that you can utilize this app to get into your space. So let's say you're a commercial realtor and you want to hang with commercial realtors. You do leases with investors on multifamily. You do land deals. You can start really getting dialed into your specific real estate niche because y'all, this platform is gigantic and enormous in its scope. And also, let's just say that Lori's really interesting to you. There's also this little star button beside following, and it's the one that's blued out there. If that's blue on, it's going to show you who else to follow that Lori likes or is similar to Lori for emoji and for background. So Clubhouse will actually help drive you into more relationships that make sense. And for those of y'all that didn't know, we just crossed 1.5 million members at the National Association of Realtors at the end of May. We hit the highest number of members ever. You don't need to connect with 1.5 million people, y'all. You need to figure out who your people are that can provide value in your niche where you can build referral relationships. Clubhouse can help you with that. So when Carrie's talking about these stages, she's talking about speaking. If I'm following Lori and other people like Lori, my hallway will populate based on who I follow and what my interests are. So when there is a room happening, pretend you're at the Wardman Marriott in Washington, D.C., at our old mid-year meetings before the Wardman went bankrupt and belly up. And you're walking through the hallway like you're going to the back entrance. And there's a room here and a room here and a room here and a room here. And all of them have a different topic. You can stick your head into any room and listen. You're not talking. You're not on stage. You can whisper at the back of the room and nobody even knows you're there. That's what happens when you enter a room. You are not on stage. Your microphone is not on and you're basically lurking. Now, let's just say it's a room that's highly interesting. So here's a room called Be a Real Estate Video Rockstar Chicks in Flicks. There's 22 people in the room. That's kind of small. I'm not going to enter it because I will get called to the stage. And 10 people are talking. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's find a big room. There's, okay, lunch and learn, old school landlording with a new age twist. All right, so we'll live stream this for you. I'm going to click on that room and well, my volume's down because I leave my volume down.
What are you doing about leasing? Tell us about a little bit about your leasing strategy.
You get to hear the conversation. And Anaje is really smart. They're trying to
They just brought you up. They just brought her up.
And that's because people know who I am. So you're maybe better off being unknown. So there's a hand at the bottom. Carrie said, raise your hand to be a speaker. That hand, you raise that hand and the people on the stage can bring you up and then your microphone's on and you are now engaging in the conversation. So that's kind of like being at the convention and the microphone's in the aisle and you walked over to the aisle and go into the mic and now it's your turn to talk and you can interact with the people on stage.
But be sure to mute yourself the minute you're brought on stage,
Yeah,
because
your
you
mic
will
is.
forget.
So I would say, and I'm looking at the chat, and you're looking, so Tanya, if you're looking for a sample bio, my recommendation would be is to hop on over to Clubhouse and search for Carrie or Lee or Gary and look at our bios. You could literally copy, cut, and paste, and you could rebuild your bio from that. And don't think you have to have this 500-word bio. Keep it simple. Say, tell us who you are, tell us who you work for, because that's, license law and code of ethics. You have to still tell us who you work for, but you can also tell us what state you're in, what city you work in, and then you add your social media, which is Instagram and Twitter, because like Lee said, you have to have a way to collaborate. And what just happened to Lee, she got brought up for a few reasons. What people have figured out in Clubhouse is Lee has a lot of followers on Clubhouse, is if they bring her up on stage and she accepts, she will bring in all of her followers. So it's almost like this bait and switch. Let's grab Lee, because now Lee's trying to figure out what they're talking about. Should I even ask a question? And here's what I've learned. I will jump into rooms to collaborate with others, especially outside of our industry, because I want to learn what the next generation is doing. They are faster. And when I tell you, I was talking to another real estate agent, and when I just figured out that a 19-year-old is making millions from TikTok, I want to listen, because they have figured out how to leverage the influencer world and technology. But if you do get pinged on stage, sometimes you don't want to actually share. Sometimes you got to figure out how to ask a random question just so you don't take over their event. But they will bring you up just so you can collaborate. And I do like what Lee said. It's like going to a conference. I like to explain it like this. It's like going back to the high school and walking through the hallway and then choosing which room you want to go into.
One thing of note, though, you're always on stage, literally, even if you're lurking in a room. So be very careful about the title of the room that you think is curious and a little lurid, because I'm telling you right now, somebody's going to screenshot that hallway with your name in that room, and you could have gone in there totally innocent and just curious, and oh my God, that's kind of a racy conversation, or could be a very heated social issue.
Oh, they're not just the heated social issue. My husband was like, Carrie, get me out of this room. Like, you don't even want to know what room he ended up in.
And that's the point, because everybody can see that you're in that room. So don't be that curious. You're on stage all the time.
Well, and the example I'll use, and what Gary's talking about, there were both of our candidates for the National Association of Realtors for first vice president, Mike McGraw and Tracy Casper, were both in Clubhouse doing town hall spaces with their teams, sharing information, answering questions, being available to members before the vote happened in May. I'm the sitting vice president. I can't be involved in either campaign. I can't give support to either campaign. I can't be involved in it. So I couldn't go into either of their rooms, because that could be screenshot, as Gary said, and construed as an endorsement of a candidate. So we have to make sure we're following all of those rules and considering what's happening. I'm going to answer a couple of questions that are in the chat that you guys have over here. Star, you can search for topics. You can search for people. There's a magnifying glass at the top. You can search for clubs, where you can find things that are, a club is an umbrella with topics happening within it. So you can find the big umbrella of real estate networking, or real estate live, which is Carrie's umbrella. You can put rooms in there. You can search for people. You can search for topics. There's tons of stuff down here, whether it's identity, knowledge, arts, tech, places, hustle, entertainment, sports. There's so many things you can play with in here. It's not just real estate. So we think we run the world. Lots of stuff is in there. And several questions here about how you get on the stage. So there's two ways that you get on a stage. One is you go into a room that's already happening. So you walked into that high school classroom, and somebody that's on the stage, where's one I won't get called up in? They don't know me. Wednesday, blockchain news. I'm trying to figure out blockchain and cyber crypto. I don't understand it. So I'm trying to learn. They're never going to call me on stage. They don't know who I am. I'm in the nosebleeds because they're not following me. And so if they want me to come on stage, the people on the stage can pluck somebody up from the nosebleeds and put you on the stage. You can say yes or no. That's one way to become a speaker. The other one, start your own room. And we'll talk about that here in a minute, because you can actually create a topic, draw people in, and be a master networker, or also a master gatherer of information. So for example, say that you're having appraisal issues in your zip code. Your room could be titled Appraisal Issues in Charlotte, North Carolina, because I'm in Charlotte. That's going to draw in other people who are in real estate in Charlotte who either have a war story to tell or a solution. I'll be honest, they're all just going to come and complain. They're not going to really have solutions. So they'll all come in the room to talk about it, but you may also draw in buyers and sellers in Charlotte that have questions. And so now you have a room going, you have people in there. So Carrie, what do you do next after you started a room?
Well,
Okay. Go ahead, Gary.
yeah, you know what? While we're on the topic about following anything, I think this is a good time to talk about who do you follow, how do you get in the rooms, and what are you in there for as a listener? And so, who you're following? There are rooms that invite you in and say, "Follow me, and I'll follow you," and they have 1,000 followers and everything, and it's just a hot mess. It's kind of like the old LinkedIn where everybody was just connected and they didn't have any real relationships. I don't know about you, but that's not my game. You'll see I don't follow, I think I follow 500 or 600 people. I have probably 250 followers. I'm not there to collect names on that basis. So as a user, I'm looking at people that I've listened to in certain rooms. There's a mortgage network group that I kind of have been in, and Jonathan Bing's a great guy, and you know, there's a lot of content and the content rolls. So I've joined rooms where you can join a room and follow when that's on, and they know you and they follow you. And when you go into those rooms, they may call you up if you've given any decent content in the past. If you haven't, you're going to sit in the nosebleeds. I'm fine with the nosebleed seats. So I'm there for a couple of reasons. One, I want to collect the best practices ideas, right? Because this gives us an opportunity to hear from people that we normally don't hear from. You know, they may be in their own little world in their Facebook groups or their company Facebook things and whatever. This is a leveler. This is a playing field leveler as far as the sharing of good ideas and information. And so I am a sponge like that. There's a show that I'm going to name drop, Julie Mozina has on Saturday mornings that's all about productivity. Liz Bruce is great. She does a great show. The rooms that I go in, I tend to want to listen than anything else. I may contribute something. And there are going to be a lot of users that are tempted and really excited to want to speak at every room that they're in. Take a breath, get a lay of the land first and figure out what's going on. Just don't hop in a room in 5 minutes, because they probably just talked about it. So, you know, it's about your credibility too. So I go and follow and go in rooms with a little bit more intent. There is a lot of entertainment in some of these rooms. Some of them are pretty funny, but you know, basically I look for the groups that I've already seen the names and recognize, because I can peek in the rooms from the outside without, you know, kind of jumping my head in, like, you know, like Lee, she'll get grabbed the minute she's in a room. And I'm listening to these people for their ideas. And then all of a sudden I'll say, you know, would I refer to that person? Would I refer my client to this person, the way that they're handling themselves, the ideas they have, you know, this person's got it going on. I know they run a good business. I can trust this. They're going into my referral list. I'm specifically looking to increase my referral sphere, not with the expectation of getting, but to giving, because I want to have a name in every area, and hopefully 2 or 3, because I need to match up sometimes personalities. I really go deep on referrals. To give you an example, I've sent 4 referrals out to people that I've met on Clubhouse. That might not seem a lot, but the quality control is there. Like I can say to my client, look, I've sort of met them. I have a really great discussion with them, and they brought up some really good points about how they negotiate selling a home. You have a listing in that city. This is the person I want you to have. So we need to up our game. When we send out referrals, we need to do a better job in not just, I don't look in rosters. They're my last choice. They're there, but it's not my roster. I'm actually developing a map-based system where I can put a cursor over an area and it'll pop up names in the cities that they cover and the markets they cover. And stay tuned, because I'll be speaking at NAR about agent-to-agent referral generation. This is a small part of it. So when I go into a room, I like to sit back a little bit and get a lay of the land and it may not interest me, and I can leave. There's a button at the bottom that says leave quietly. Do it, leave quietly, move on. That's the beauty about Clubhouse. You can go in and out. You don't have to have anything on that, and I really, there's a science behind it too. When you know that there's nothing else going on and you just have to listen to get what's going on, there's no visual cues, there's no facial recognition, you're listening. And I feel like I absorb a lot more, and I can have it playing while I'm doing something else, and it's still got my attention without kind of hamstringing me to a computer. So for that, but I also want to talk, so that's a huge thing for me. I've received 2 incoming referrals. I'm more intent on sending out quality referrals to quality people. This is your chance to impress me if I'm in their room. When I say that though, don't speak to just impress me. If somebody speaks up and I hear a good conversation, I am going to their profile and check them out and see where they are. And the first couple lines should always have where they are, at least generally. I change my profile depending on what room I'm in, why I'm in the room. So right now, it may not be impressive. I don't really care. I just want to tell where I am, what my interests are. That's fine. I had somebody that I do a little bit of skydiving. I had somebody that actually scrolled down to the bottom of my profile and saw I do a little bit of skydiving. I got a referral because this guy skydives, so it could be any common thing. The last thing I just want to say, so those are my success stories, but the one thing I do want to say, and Carrie and Leah are going to go deep and talk about proper hosting and moderating and how to be that great moderator and create a great room that people are going to kill to be in. And you'll see those big numbers. So as an end user, and I'm guessing I'm probably 80 or 90% of the people on Clubhouse, although more and more people are opening rooms just for the heck of it. But that's the point. There are a lot of people that want to be the center of attention, and they're not opening those rooms to share real knowledge and to be a gatherer of thoughtful people and ideas. They're doing it just to have a stage. I get it. I'm okay with it if they do a good job. What I don't, if you want me in your room as an average user who is looking for, a business relationship where an identity, I know who that person is for a referral, because I will send you one. Don't threaten me with a good referral. Don't have 20 moderators on there and they spend all that show introducing every single one of them. If you've been in the room more than twice, you've already heard all of their spiel and they act like it's a brand new audience. So if you want to keep me in your room, please don't have 20 moderators that have to go through 30 or 40 seconds. Do the math. 10 or 15 minutes of intros bore the heck out of me and I'm gone. I don't need it. I'm not invested in it. The last thing I'll say is if you do follow the advice that you're going to get and open a room because you want to put together a mastermind group, which is something that is growing in leaps and bounds, when you have your friends and people from that you've met at conferences, however you have that relationship, this is a great place to make it easy. Nobody has to get dressed. They can do it anytime, day and night, and meet once a month just to chat. There are people that do it just for a social get together once a month and have a glass of wine. And you don't know if it's wine because you can't see them. But so there's lots of great uses for it. But opening a room with intent and not just to be on the stage is so key. Please don't put yourself out there as the expert and start preaching to people in the room. Well, and you should do this, you should do that. And I look in their bio and they've been in the business, oh my God, 3 years. And they've sold 12 houses their entire career. A good idea has to have the credible delivery behind it. If somebody tells you a great idea, it's one-dimensional. If they have 30 years of experience, I'm learning through their pain, not my own. They've already earned they know that's a good idea. So that's my 10 cents about why I go into the rooms and why I try to make that a very positive thing about developing the relationships. But if I can get some great ideas or even share a couple, I've talked to Liz offline a couple times. We've had phenomenal conversations. It's okay to bring it offline. That's the point. This is kind of like an intro. So I readily give my email and my cell phone. That may stop, like Lee says, some people get pounded. For now, that's how I want to communicate. That's where that's where I am as a person. So I'm probably rambling on about it, but I'm that passionate about, I love a good room. There's rooms I don't like, you'll never see me in again.
So here's a great question, Carrie. How can you tell if rooms contain worthwhile info to hang out in to make it worth your time? You're going to figure out how to figure that out. You're going to hang out in a room. You're going to search for great content. You can see that, I mean, if there are 200, 300 people in the space, they probably, you can tell that they already have a platform and people are already engaging. Yes, top left-hand corner, you can search. So I will put in social media. I'm trying to figure out the Bitcoin. I am trying to figure out the blockchain. Our MLS CEO, Lee Brown, that could be a great interview for you on Clubhouse. She actually understands the blockchain. So, we can collaborate and we can interview other people. And I also saw actually someone said, well, Carrie, how do you collaborate and how do you how do you create great content? So my identical twin, who was not in our space, I've been trying to get her to go live on social media. She went live on Saturday. If you could see her, she was like nervous. She was like, Carrie, I don't want people to see me. I'm like, just get over it. If I could do it, you could do it. But so I now every Sunday after church, Lee, or before church, she's an educator. So she's in California, she's in the desert. And in her, let's see, I'm looking at her bio. She works with administrators to increase their core competencies in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. She is Dr. Blasey. So Lee, when she goes into a room, they're pulling her up on stage. The education space was the first arena to actually have a conference. And so the founders of Clubhouse started to engage with them. So these are people that you can collaborate with. So every Sunday, we actually have a conversation with educators and real estate. Why? Because we need the education space, and they can tell you about school scores, why you need to do your research, why moving to an area that has top school scores may not be the best thing for your kid, things that we can't do. So think about how you can collaborate with others. It doesn't have to always be about tech. It could be the person that is next door to you. And the cool thing about she and I is we've already met with people in person, Gary, because of Clubhouse. It's beyond just Clubhouse. Yeah, we got up, got dressed, and no Zoom makeup.
I found my new photographer on Clubhouse. She was in a real estate room that I was in, and I felt like giving her a chance because I liked the way she communicated. She and I met at a house. She's a freaking artist with photography. So you start thinking about how this does go offline, exactly what Carrie's saying. These relationships can get deep really quickly. And I want to unpack a couple of things that Gary said. First of all, you said, I got one more thing 6 times, which I love you for that. So in Gary's 6 things that
I didn't lie.
Hilarious. He mentioned Julie Mazzina. So I want to mention Julie briefly because she's a realtor in Iowa and she was panicked about starting a room. She did not want to be on stage. She felt like she should try it, but she was so scared. Now she's doing a regular space because she's gotten herself past her fear, and Clubhouse gives you a lot of grace for that. And one of the things that she did was she sent specific invites to me and to some other people. Please come to my first room and help me get there. And I said, of course, I'll come get your back. And I'm not there to speak. I'm there to support. You can be that supportive person in Clubhouse, but you're going to learn as well because Julie puts together really good-hearted people. But the way that you'll start to figure out which rooms are good and bad, that question's coming up a lot in the chat. You just have to go with your intuition, right? So some of the rooms have really good, thoughtful people dropping gems is the term you'll hear, and they're all dropping gems. Those are people who are giving you action items. They're not just pitching you. If you go into a room where they're trying to sell you stuff, get out, because those people are there to make money, and you can make money through Clubhouse, through referrals, through coaching, whatever you're doing in your business. But if your primary purpose is to get, then people will sniff it out pretty quickly. You'll find that I don't know if I'm probably not supposed to cuss because it's an NAR thing, but it's probably not a cuss word. Your bullshit meter gets really strong on Clubhouse when you're thinking about people's voices, because you can hear who's real and who's not. So you're going to get really smart about when to leave a room. So let's say you're in your hallway, right? Your available rooms, and you see a room that's got nothing you care about. So here's one, does age matter? All right, that's obviously nothing I'm interested in. You can swipe that to get to the club that it's in. If you swipe left, if you swipe right, you can make the room go away, and then it won't come in your hallway anymore. So you can totally cultivate what you want that space to look like to find good things. But my best advice for finding good rooms is following people you like. Gary mentioned that a couple of times. Follow speakers that you respect, follow coaches you respect, follow colleagues, local businesses, follow great people. So it's speaking about these rooms, we've talked about it a lot, and maybe you're the person who wants to have a room. And one of my favorite humans on the planet, who is also an identical twin, Carrie, you see Tracy Hawkins, the safety lady, is over here. Her twin sister, Stacy Johnson Cosby, is the queen of getting the message out to protect housing providers. They're both in the Kansas City area. And Tracy says, how do I get a room going? She wants to talk realtor safety. So on your screen for Clubhouse, when you're in your main room, there's this little calendar looking thing with all the dots on it. Let's see if I get this to work on my screen. So there's the calendar. Did I get it? Got it. So now when you're in there, you can see upcoming events. They're not in the hallway yet. There's things you can plan to listen to, add it to your calendar. You can tweet it. You can support the spaces you want to be in. Figuring out what rooms you want to be in. By the way, look who the speakers are going to be. Look who's agreed to start a room together. You see people of quality doing things together. Those are probably really good rooms. Up in the upper right-hand corner, Tracy, is, thank you, Carrie. There's a calendar with a little plus sign on it. Click the calendar with the plus sign, and it says new event. You're going to put the name of your event here. So you might say, Real Talk about Realtor Safety. And then it's going to say who the host is. That's you. And if you have a co-host, you can put other people in the space in there with you that are going to be interviewed by you, or they're just going to provide feedback. You can add your co-host or your guest, select date, select time. If it goes in a club, so we talked about clubs being the umbrella where all these little topics come in. I belong to a whole bunch of clubs, so I could put this safety event under one of my clubs if I wanted to do so. And then you describe the event. You only have 200 characters. And so you want to make sure you're using the things that are going to draw somebody into a room. So you say, I'm going to have 5 tips to make you safer when you're showing houses. That's going to bring realtors into the room because they know they're going to receive gems. You're going to be dropping gems. And when you publish it and you post that the room's happening, you can share it on Instagram, share it as a tweet, put it on your social profiles, put it in your newsletter, invite other people to come to the room, and then it's their choice to come. And here's why they should show up. Clubhouse is officially unrecorded. So a lot of people have what we call FOMO, fear of missing out. So if you don't show up in the room, you're going to say, I missed the first 15 minutes. And we'll say, well, sucks to be you because it's gone. Clubhouse doesn't record. And if you do record it, the app will catch you, and there's going to be some problems with that later. Just so you know, from a privacy perspective, though, that's why I say that. Instagram does record Clubhouse when you're connected to Instagram. If you all would read those terms of service, you would figure out real quick that you're giving up a lot of your information. So just be aware of that, because what you say can absolutely be used against you in the future, as we all know from, living on the internet world. And Marcia, how much in advance should you create an event? It depends on who your followers are. Some realtors have zero planning in their life. I'm not calling names, but there are some realtors who don't plan. So if I put up a room that starts in an hour, I'll have people that will show up because they're in Clubhouse right then. If I plan something for Friday morning, which is when I usually do my room, I have people who plan to come on Friday morning and they'd like to have it on their calendars. So it comes and goes. One thing that is regularly scheduled is the real estate networking room that happens Monday through Friday at 6:30 Eastern time. And it's a rotating cast of realtors that come in.
6:30 a.m. or p.m.?
PM. Didn't I say PM? It's the networking at 6:30 p.m.
Okay.
So that's a real estate networking room. William Tong is the one that got that going. He's one of the biggest names in Clubhouse, and he's a realtor from California, and he's involved in the CRS network. That's a really active room. So if you're new to Clubhouse, that's a great place to go to the stage, raise that little hand, get pulled up, because they let everybody have a chance to say hello, and they want you to have that first experience at the microphone before you start a room so you can get comfortable. But you will earn referrals in that space if you are there to share information. And so, spoiler alert to what Gary was talking about before, where you're building great referral people, go into this space with the intent of sharing. Hey, y'all, I tried this. Hey, this script worked. Hey, I got a listing by doing this. When you go in with the intent to give, people are drawn to you. If you go in with the intent of selling, pitching, or getting something from somebody, people are not necessarily going to be drawn to you. So just go and give, and it's amazing what you get back.
Yeah,
Tracy, don't try it, do it. You know I'm gonna fuss at you for that limiting language, sister.
And really quickly, Gary, I was going to say, for those of you that are, asking how far in advance, we plan out our events and they're already on the calendar. I actually, if you go to my story on Instagram, you'll see 3 upcoming events. So every Monday, 5 p.m. Central Time, I have an event. Lee, what time is your event on Friday?
It's 8 a.m. Eastern time.
Perfect. So I'll listen while I work out.
It's great to see something actually based on Eastern Standard Time, since everything real estate seems to be central.
It's
they
all
don't know,
central, Gary.
they don't know East Coast
Central.
is actually the center of the world.
Nope.
One idea that has been talked about a lot, and Lee will light up on this. Lee does speaker boot camp and training moderators. One of the things that we know is that good moderation takes practice. This is a great platform for you to do that. If you can pick 3 or 4 people to have on a panel discussion, that is a good idea for a room. You can bring people up to ask questions afterwards, but that is really good practice. Not a lot of pressure, because you're not up on stage. You're not, in front of 1,000 people or 100 people. You may be online, but you're not going to feel it. I've seen a couple of them. They're just one-time rooms that people will pop up, but you could see that the person learning how to moderate kind of got their groove going on and understood how to not be the one doing all the talking. They're specifically asking questions. And then that just blows up, because people will want to come up and share ideas. And that's going to organically grow a very, very productive room when you have a good, strong base of people that are adding content.
So let's give you a quick information piece about what Gary's talking about with moderators. All 3 of us have said it before. So let's jump into a room. Women Supporting Women Wednesday. Okay. So we got this room full of people. There's a little green button beside some names. The green button is the moderator. Moderators run the room. A room that has 30 moderators is one that's going to make you crazy. To me, a good room has a few moderators who are managing the space, and they're deciding who speaks, and they're working the room, not for their own benefit, but to bring other people through in an orderly fashion. There's other people in here that are on the stage. They're in the speaking area. They don't have a green button. They're not moderators, they're speakers. So Carrie mentioned before that you can have trolls in a room and scammers. A moderator with a green button can kick somebody out of the room. And so you can kick them out if they're causing a problem or if their bio is a problem. But you'll also notice their microphones are here. Your microphone is hot when you come to a stage. So you got to mute immediately. Sometimes somebody will say something that's really impactful, and you'll watch all the microphones pop up and down. That's the way we give applause in Clubhouse, because we don't
tried it in here in Zoom. Have you accidentally tapping your mic?
What?
I said, have you accidentally started tapping your mic on Zoom because you forgot you were not on Clubhouse?
No, that's you.
Or if you like a comment, by the way, if you see somebody's mic clicking, that's supposed to be applause. So it could be either way.
All right, so look, the moderators on the stage can pull you up. So if they see you and they know you because you work together, they love you, then they're asking me to come speak. So I have 2 choices, maybe later or join as speaker. If I click join, I will show up as a speaker, and that will bring people in, and that will mean my microphone's on. I'm not going to accept that right now, because that's not our purpose, is to do this. And absolutely, Carrie, you can slow tap to get somebody's attention that you need to speak. You will find there's a wonderful habit that started in Clubhouse, about 2 months ago. My name is Lee Brown, and I'm done speaking, which is the end of your little tirade. And I love that, because it tells me when I can jump in and fill the gap.
And the reason for that is because Clubhouse has there are people that are in the space with a hearing disability. And so the purpose of saying, I'm Carrie Little and I'm finished, or I'm Carrie Little and I'm done speaking, is because someone is transcribing. And so a lot of times if there are 10 moderators or 10 people on the stage, it's hard to see the little circle move quickly. And sometimes if people are interrupting, it's chaos for the person that cannot hear. So it's respectful to say, hey, everyone, I'm Carrie Little, and you start speaking. And then when you're finished, you say, I'm Carrie and I'm finished, or I'm complete. That's to be respectful for the hearing impaired.
That which really is an unknown great thing that they do. You know, this is a platform that hearing impaired have access to, and they keep developing that. And I think it's fabulous. The other thing is too, when you say you're done speaking, think about how long you've spoken. Because if you just go on and on and on, you may get kicked off completely, because there is a point where people, the trolls or whatever, will take over the room. Let them ask you questions. Give your idea, give it succinctly, and say, I'm done speaking, which, by the way, that done speaking is old school before real estate discovered the app. That was their polite guide on how to operate on it.
And please make sure you're looking in the chat. Our wonderful hosts have given you a download that you can use to kind of give you some tips on how to use Clubhouse. And one thing that Lee mentioned was having moderators that are in the space. We have actually paid people $15 to watch and to take notes during a club that is or an event that's really a hot topic. And what many of you don't know is, yes, the goal of Clubhouse is to not record so you can create live conversation. But if you are going to record, you have to have permission of everyone on stage. And that's when you might see in the actual title, it might say record, and you might see a little red button letting you know that they're recording. But what a lot of people don't know is you can use an app called Otter, and it will transcribe everything I say as a speaker. It won't record Lee and it won't record Gary, but I can actually have a transcription of everything I said when I'm finished. And another thing we've been using, and I'll throw it in the chat, is Get Host Notes. You can have someone take notes during the event and give away your free downloads, or you can redirect people to your link tree. Like right now, if you went to my Instagram and you went to Linktree, I give you direct access to all of my upcoming events. Why? Because I want you to follow me. But the other thing I can do is I can actually give you the notes, so if you miss an event, you can see everything that we've talked about, and that's a great place to ask your question.
And speaking of great rooms, you guys keep asking about really good rooms. There's a 7 a.m. room that is a morning one that's run by German Hernandez from South Florida. And that's one of my favorite morning rooms. It's run really, really well. They start with some intentions and gratitude and coffee, but they have a note taker, as Carrie just mentioned, and you can download the notes every day. And every day it's like being in a great CRS class every day with the ideas that are shared. And it's so amazing. It's at 7 a.m. It's, I think it's called, what's it called now? Good Morning Real Estate.
It is Good Morning Real Estate. And I'll tell you, if you, so if you're a real estate agent and you're following the topic real estate, when you log into Clubhouse, you'll see it right away.
And they've lasted the longest. There were several coffee morning real estate shows that were at the beginning of Clubhouse, but a couple of them have frittered out just because people get really busy. But with what German has set up over there with Amanda Dahl, they've got a group of moderators that take turns running that room day to day, so it can happen every day. And I will tell y'all, some of these spaces get really emotional. People are very vulnerable in the space, and which I think is a wonderful thing. And you'll make some really great connections. We don't rate rooms, Tanya. They're not rated. The way that you pick a room is sometimes by who's in it. And you can also look at the numbers. And Gary mentioned a large room. I personally like rooms that are 30 to 50 people, because that's big enough to have a good group of people sharing, but it's small enough that you can see all the faces and you can actually interact. If you're in a room with 200 and 300 people, you can really get lost in there. So if your goal is to get lost, those are really good rooms to go and sit and listen. They won't spot you. If you go into a small room, though, it could be a room where everybody's on stage. I'm in a group called Entrepreneurs Who Run, and the Entrepreneurs Who Run group, we have a room that we do on Saturday morning. I'm usually done with my run when we start, so I listen to collaborate and to spend time with other entrepreneurs that are not in real estate. We interview somebody every week, and we share that room on Clubhouse, even though it's several of us that do. We have a WhatsApp on the side anyway. But there's so many spaces to collaborate, and that generally has 8 to 12 people in it. So don't judge a room by not having many people. It just might be a specific purpose. I will point one thing out, because I see we're running close to the end of our time. I have to give you guys a cautionary tale, because you have to know the impact of what comes out of your mouth on Clubhouse. We mentioned before that a moderator with the green hat, the green bean, green star, can knock somebody out of a room. In any room where fair housing comes up and buyer love letters come up, people ask me to come into the room because they know that I will basically rip a new one for people that are wanting to violate fair housing with bad buyer love letters. Many realtors are non-confrontational. I don't mind being confrontational when it's involving the best practices for fair housing. Well, I was in a room where I was explaining why the love letters needed to be super careful, and I got kicked out of the room for going against what the leaders of the room wanted. And so I'm texting a friend of mine who was in the room. I said, did I just get booted for supporting fair housing? And he said, yes, you did. So you can get jumped from a room just for what you say. Of course, I screenshot all the people that were in there because, obviously I wouldn't, just remembering, for my own personal purposes. But in that real estate networking room, and Eric, thank you for posting that link over there to that evening networking room. It's a great club. This is back in January. We were in that room and somebody was talking about buyer love letters. I was asked to come address it because that's my role. And this realtor told me, well, they're a standard practice in my market. And he's talking about all the way they're violating the protected classes. I said, you can't do it that way. That's violating federal fair housing. And he said, that might be the law in your state. It's not the law in my state. And I said, it's federal law, dude. He said, I don't have to follow federal law. I screenshot his face. I was getting so angry. And then he patted me on the head. And ladies, you've all had your head patted before. He said, I can tell you're really emotional about this issue. And see, girl, I came completely unglued and my phone got set on fire because everybody's like, oh shit, here goes Lee. She's going to lose her mind. And so I lit into him and I said, you know what? Redlining was a standard practice in the 50s. I didn't make it right. And it takes people moving past bad practices to fix them. So over here on the other side of things, I'm like, if we're doing this wrong, we have to fix it. We're professionals. And so I finally got out of there and I went to Twitter because when my blood pressure's high, I go to Twitter and I had a private message. The private message that I had was from somebody I didn't know. And he said, hey, I was in the room you were in on Clubhouse. Thanks for sticking up for fair housing. I can't believe that guy said that. And I said, I know, right? I thought he was a normal guy. So I'm bantering with him on Twitter and I finally looked at his profile and I said, oh, I screenshot him and I sent him to Shannon McGann, who is our chief lobbyist for the National Association of Realtors. And I said, Shannon, do you know this guy? And she said, why are you talking to him? And so I told her the whole kit and caboodle. The guy that was in the room, he was down in the nosebleed seats, way down at the bottom where nobody could see him in a 200-person room. The head of the consumer division of the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And that was when the CFPB decided to work with HUD on stopping buyer love letters. He screenshot that agent. That agent put himself in the crosshairs of 2 nasty bureaucracies in Washington, D.C. for saying he didn't have to follow federal fair housing. So I'm just going to remind y'all that the words that you say you might think they're not recorded. You might think nobody's listening. You do not know who's in that room. I know that my congressman has a pseudonym that he operates under for Clubhouse to hear things and to get information. You need to always be on alert and be the best realtor version of yourself, because if you're violating fair housing, if you're violating the code of ethics, if you're violating lots of code of ethics violations on Clubhouse, lots of them, I'm the person who will raise my hand and say, you need to stop. I try to stop people in their tracks. If they refuse or they get nasty, I'm going to screenshot them and I'm going to turn them in because we're a self-policing organization. Eric, he wasn't in North Carolina. He was in California. So I did make sure and save him because he's going down and I'm frankly going to enjoy it because I tried to stop him.
I would love to be able to do that, by the way. I'm just saying, with the emphasis with the hair thing. I would die for that. Just put the genie in the bottle thing. Every time she does it, I think it's all about she's teasing me.
And really, Lee, give that one more tip because the Clubhouse actually does record every room, but once the room ends, the content goes away. So if you want to report someone, what was your tip?
Yep. If you want to complain.
If you want to take a screenshot So I pulled up his bio while he was talking. I screenshot it. And of course, I saved the conversation with the CFPB guy he was so cute though. He said, do you want me to introduce you to some people at NAR? I said, I probably know them. So thank you. He
You
said,
should have just said yes. You should have just humored him and said yes.
right. It was so funny, but
Just to see who he's going to name drop with.
you just got to grab the faces down and pay attention, right? Because we're only as good as the worst member among us. And the public doesn't trust realtors because too often we tell lies, we're cutting corners. And if one realtor is behaving badly, people say, all y'all realtors behave badly. So when you see it, raise your hand and shut it down. You've got to be bold enough to say, that's not right. That violates the code of ethics. Y'all need to stop it. Be that person who speaks up for fair housing, who speaks up for the code of ethics.
And if you do click on someone's profile and report them and you're in the actual room, that room could get shut down. So before you actually click, you might want to jump out of the room, go find the person and then report them.
And
So there we
frankly,
go.
I didn't report him to Clubhouse because I just wanted to make sure I let him dig his own grave pretty deep, but you know, that's how we roll.
So my recommendation for all of you is please go to Clubhouse, follow all of us on Clubhouse, join Lee every Friday. Gary, we're going to get you into hosting a space. And yeah, join me.
I'm a
every
great
Monday,
follower
Sunday.
and a great listener. I want to learn just like everybody else. And I don't need to be on that stage. I just want to get to know people in the right geographic areas for good referrals.
Well, thank you.
And I just added my Friday morning room. I do the hard things first room. So now y'all can join me on Friday morning.
All right.
And let's see. Much of thank yous. Thank y'all for showing up today. We hope we'll
thank
see
you,
all
everybody.
Yep.
Thank you. Go to Instagram and you can catch all of our content there in our bio.
Thank you.